Thank you, Chair. And as a reminder, members, this morning's meeting will be recorded and will be subject to delayed broadcast on the Council's website. In terms of the sedation, when you hear your name, could you confirm your attendance, please? We have an apology this morning from Councillor Barton, Councillor McGee.
Yep.
Councillor Friel.
I'm here again.
Councillor Cowan.
Here.
Councillor Mackay.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Mabin.
Here, thank you.
Councillor Maitland.
Here.
Councillor Lennox.
Morning here, thank you.
We have an apology also this morning from Councillor Crawford. Councillor Watts.
I'm here, Lynn, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Filson.
Yep.
Councillor Hogg.
Here, thank you.
And Councillor Stewart.
Here, thanks, Lynn.
Thank you, Chair.
And just at this point, if there's any declarations of interest. No, that's fine. And there'll be no hearing procedure at this planning committee today. So we'll just take us to item 3. That's the planning application number 220718 PP. That's for the variation of planning conditions at the proposed development site, Marksholme Road, Rickerton, and that'll be Fiona Finlay presenting this. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. The purpose of this report is to present for determination what is termed as a Section 42 application for planning permission to be considered by the Planning Committee under the Council scheme of delegation, as overall the residential development is a major development. The application site is identified housing opportunity site 148H Max Home under the provisions of the adopted local development plan, and it's located to the south of Kilmarnock. Planning permission was granted previously, and the background to this site is outlined in paragraph 6 of your report. Just to brief members that this is a particular application type called a Section 42 application, where legally the applicant can apply to amend the planning conditions without going through a formal planning application process, such as PAC, etc., for major developments. The application cannot consider the principal development again or the approved details unless they are referred to in the description, but it can only deal with the specific conditions applied for. The position from Scottish Government is clear that the net effect of the successful application under Section 42 of the Act amounts to the grant of a new permission, but this is an entirely legal mechanism to extend planning permission as per the legislation. Paragraph 11 in your report outlines the specific conditions being applied to amend. Condition 29 seeks to update the wording from the old local plan to the current local development plan, which is adopted in order to ensure that the play area complies with the guidance in the current development plan. Condition 33 relates to private open space in certain plots and seeks to correct an error in the drafting of the condition that the applicant has picked up in relation to plot numbering, and also refer to the adopted local development plan and introduce an amended timescale for the provision of this information for when this development is to start on site. I'll just show you some plans now, members, and maps on the screen just to give you a little bit of an indication of the location of the site. Apologies, I can't get this to work in a slideshow, so we're just looking at it in the format it's in just now, members, but I hope that's okay. So here we have Kilmarnock, we have the Belfield interchange where I'm circling my cursor now, and that's the A77 north and south. Come along the A71 and you've got Max Home in here. You've got the Low Glencairn Street just coming down past the retail park under the flyover for the 71, and Max Home's just in here off Stony Hill Avenue, and you can see the development site there. Just a little bit more detail. This is the red line site, which is the overall development site, and the area of blue, which is outlined as under the applicant's ownership. This was the layout as approved, and the area for plot numbering that we're amending as part of 33 are these plots in here that I'm sort of circling around now, shaded in green. Just to clarify, members, as I always do, here's the local development plan map, which shows the site as a identified housing opportunity. And in terms of the LDP2, which is undergoing adoption process at the moment, you can see there that the site is also identified for housing opportunity. So what I'll probably do is leave that screen up for the moment, members, and we'll go from there and just turn back to the report. All consultation responses are outlined starting at section 12 of the report. We have had objections from the NHS as the only objectors as per paragraph 26. Whilst we do note the information that's been provided by the NHS, the points made are out with the terms of this section 42 application as I've outlined to you earlier in the presentation and in the report and cannot be taken into account. In terms of the representation process, we have 8 letters of representation objected to the application. Objections are all as noted in your report, and we've responded to each point advising where it's relevant to this particular section 42 application and where it's not. Sections 25 and 37 of the Town and Country Planning Scotland Act as amended require that planning applications be determined in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. For this application type, the development plan comprises NPF4 and the adopted local development plan, which together form the development plan for this application type. The position of Scottish Government is clear that NPF4 takes prevalence where there is incompatibility between the two. The application is a section 42 application. It's to update and amend the 2 stated conditions. Only these 2 conditions can be considered in the determination of the application, and the application is appropriate in terms of the local development plan and for NPF4. The policy position is outlined in your report as well in more detail, and only technical policies are relevant in this instance given the application description, and it is appropriate to vary the conditions under the development plan. There are no material considerations highlighted that would otherwise suggest the application be refused. Finally, even though the variation of the 2 conditions has been applied for, it's entirely reasonable to review all the conditions to ensure that they continue to meet the tests of this planning circular. And it should be noted that a conditional condition requires to be added to any consent to reflect the changes in section 58 of the Town and Country Planning Scotland Act, which taken effect since the consent has originally been granted. This is down as condition 36 and is a timescale condition to ensure that development starts within the legal timeframe for development. Further to the above, I would like to also advise you that we've amended condition 6 of the original consent relating to the approved construction working hours, and that's been amended to reflect our current practice on that condition, which is effectively to define bank holidays. It's therefore recommended that the application be approved subject to conditions in Appendix 1 and that the legal agreement be updated to incorporate this application before the consent is released to the applicant. Back to yourself, Chair.
So just to open up to members, any questions? Maybe online, so just go for. We'll just go for consideration of the application.
Second, Chair.
Any otherwise minded?
No.
No. So that's the conclusion of item 3. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Just to confirm that the decision of the committee is that the application has been approved, subject to the conditions as detailed in the report, and that the decision notice is not issued until the legal agreement is updated to reflect the updated developer contribution figures, reiterating the provision of affordable housing and to reflect the new application reference. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, planning application number 230438PP. This application for planning permission for erection of 75 dwelling houses, Water of Coyle off Truesdale Crescent, Drongan. And it's presented by Marion Ferguson. Marion, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. This application is a major development for 75 houses, roads, drainage, etc. at Water of Coyle off Truesdale Crescent in Drongan. The application site is bounded by Truesdale Crescent on the north and on the east by Millowfield Road and Ladies Walk. There we go. The western boundary is a field and the southern boundary is the U740 road, which travels from Drongan to the South Ayrshire Council boundary at the south. The site's currently grazed and it's bounded by hedge and post and wire fencing, and the site is sloping in nature. Site levels are proposed in line with the existing levels. The layout follows one vehicular entry point off Truesdale Crescent and then is via 3 cul-de-sacs. A play area is located mid-site, and there is a wide swathe of structured green space proposed along the north part of the site, as well as screening between the site and the existing houses. This is also the location of the Suds Basin at the western edge. There's a green corridor around the site, not only at the north, but on the west, south and part of the eastern boundaries, with pedestrian links through the site offering permeability. The houses are proposed in 2-storey to 1-storey in a modern palette of materials with some contrasted colouring panels. I'll just give you a wee idea of what the houses look like. And members, you will note at pages 42 to 46 of your papers that ARA traffic, no objections to the development, with some matters able to be controlled via planning conditions. ARA flooding required an updated layout with surface water info, which has been provided, with a few minor areas still to be resolved in terms of overland flow, which can also be the subject of a planning condition. Environmental Health noted initially they wanted a noise impact assessment and odour assessment due to the adjacent farm. Members, you'll note it's actually been demolished now, and Millishield has no resulting farmland with it anymore. Environmental Health therefore noted they wouldn't require these and suggested other conditions to regulate construction noise and dust, etc. WOSAS, the West of Scotland Archaeological Service, they confirmed the field had been investigated previously and there were no archaeological issues arising. And Scottish Gas Network, Scottish Power and Scottish Water had no objections. In terms of representation, 4 parties objected to the application, and these can be seen at pages 46 to 49 of your papers. These raised issues of security of properties backing onto the development from Truesdale Crescent, antisocial behaviour and potential littering or dumping in that western swathe of landscaping, northern swathe of landscaping, invasion of privacy. The planning service note that many of the houses in the proposed development are planned with a large kitchen diner at the rear and French doors, and therefore there will be some element of natural surveillance from the proposed properties. And this would potentially increase security for the existing houses rather than having the open field at present. Planning conditions would also be used to control the maintenance of the open space if littering did occur, and distances between the proposed and existing houses are such that there should not be any privacy or overlooking issues. Objections were also raised regarding the location, the field still being active and in use for grazing, and the wildlife interests. But members, I'd just like to tell you that the site is allocated for housing opportunity in the local development plan and in local development plan 2, and that the applicants have submitted a preliminary ecological appraisal for the site. Other issues raised were flooding, noting that a flood risk assessment was submitted and ARA flooding have no concerns on flooding from nearby watercourses. Other traffic issues raised were the entry point at Truesdale Crescent, noting that Truesdale Crescent has a 20-mile-an-hour zone and it currently has traffic control in terms of speed tables and humps. Comments were also made as to the increased traffic using the U740 to the south. However, it is noted overall that ARA have no objections on road safety grounds. The lack of existing services in Drongan was also raised as an objection in terms of access to facilities, primary schools, shops and services. However, members will note that these issues are assessed at a strategic level when sites are allocated in the LDP process. At pages 49 to 79 of your papers, members, you'll note under the development plan assessment that the site is located in the settlement boundary as the most sustainable location. It's close to public transport links, shops and the school, and the development proposes roof photovoltaic cells along with other low carbon sustainable considerations and will use recycled materials. In terms of biodiversity, a biodiversity enhancement plan was submitted, noting they will retain the hedges, augment any existing hedges where needed with native planting that's good for pollinators. They'll keep a wilder grass strip of 1 metre adjacent to the hedges to increase botanical diversity of structured green corridors along the north and western boundaries, creating links to the wider countryside. There's boundary tree planting to strengthen the southern boundary. There's wetland wildflower grass seeding around the suds, which is proposed to promote native habitats. Native hedging will be used to delineate the house plots and provide additional refuge and food for wildlife. And other measures included are bat boxes, swift bricks and bird boxes, hedgehog highways and wilder areas of log piles for nesting and hibernation for the smaller mammals. Overall, there's a diverse range of trees, shrubs and grasses to be planted throughout the site, and wildlife-friendly lighting is also proposed. The finer detail of all the above can be secured by planning conditions. In terms of other policy compliance, the development is capable of contributing to local living in 20-minute neighbourhoods. There's no requirement for affordable housing, but the developer is in discussion with councils' housing services to provide this on site regardless. Other matters not included in the application, such as broadband connections, can be covered via suitable planning conditions also. At page 14, at paragraph 89, members, you'll note the proposal overall meets with the provisions of the local development plan. The development plan. In summary, the material considerations of the planning history, which is supportive, noting a consent currently able to be implemented for 52 houses on a different layout. There are no outstanding matters within the consultation responses, and the site is allocated in LDP2. The objections are noted, but they're not considered to be of sufficient weight to suggest refusal of the application. And in conclusion, the layout is deemed acceptable overall, with some minor revisions, and any outstanding matters can be controlled via suitable planning conditions. And the application is therefore recommended for approval with conditions at pages 83 to 87 of your papers, members, with any decision notice being withheld until the development contribution payment is received. Thanks, Chair.
Right, thanks, Maureen. I'll open up the members for questions or discussion. Thank you. Sir Paulson. Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of wee things for Maureen and maybe Kevin. Maureen, a site landscape plan, is that attached at all? Can you give us anything like that at all on the screen? Just for the sake of overlooking.
Yeah, is that one all right for you, Councillor Filson?
Well,
Or we've got,
can't really see.
that's the kind of detailed landscape, but we've got this site
So
plan
you're
further up,
talking
if that's a bit better.
You're talking about hedging and trees there.
Yeah,
Can you put your cursor on there just to...
yeah, this kind of wide swathe here. Can you see my cursor?
Oh yes, I can
Aye.
see it there.
At the northern boundary is to be structured plant, and it looks kind of like open space here, but there's actually to be quite a lot of structured trees in there, as well as a suds pond, and then there's to be trees down this western boundary.
And there's quite a distance from the houses to the other houses.
It's about 50 metres. Yeah. There's also this standoff on the eastern boundary where these 2 or 3 properties in Millishield Road, numbers 174 and 174A, are in closer proximity, and they've left a standoff to avoid any issues overlooking there. The other bit that might be, or that was originally contentious in the 52 unit application, was that where the properties on the eastern boundary were bordering the ones on Ladies Walk and Millishield Road, the applicant then made them bungalows, and this new applicant has incorporated that into their layout as well. So these are actually bungalows, these 6 that you can see running from north to south on the eastern boundary.
Thanks. Just on the sewerage side of things as well, we're still getting a few problems in the playing fields at Drungan. I know there's been some works done at Coylton to help these new sites for capacity. You know about the work at Coylton? Has there been a fair bit of work happening there?
But we can kind of update you on.
I mean the works, so the sewage works.
No, not in Coylton, but
Well, the Drungan sewage works, where it goes to.
Oh, right.
Or heads that way.
the water treatment works. No, I didn't know about them, but what we are proposing to, and we've had a discussion with the developer on this matter, in that it's almost, or you can't now get onto the Scottish Water portal to register your application until you have a decision now. So Scottish Water are kind of holding up their process until an actual approval is in place from the council, which then, once the applicant can put that in and the date of decision of approval, it then lets them onto the Scottish Water portal to allow them to progress their water and their sewerage application with Scottish Water. So usually we've now had to start looking at providing technical approval at a later stage. But we would usually, put that in as a matter of planning condition.
And just a wee kind of joint one between yourself and Kevin for the site compound, whereabouts that's going to be and where the site traffic would be parked while the construction was taking place?
No, but we would expect it to be obviously inside the site, and the compound itself has got permitted development rights once the application is granted. But we would be happy to liaise with the developer and ask them to locate it away from some of the houses if that's helpful.
I'm just thinking of access here, Kevin. You can see how tight that corner is there coming into Truesdale Crescent and into the site. Women bringing architects and stuff like that in with materials. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, we would take into account the construction management plan that's submitted at the time prior to works commencing.
Just through you, Chair, just to clarify, the recommendations approval subject to a whole range of suggested conditions. A lot of them are what we call pre-commencement conditions. A lot of them require that further detail. So the developer plans for how the construction traffic will be managed would be subject to a condition they require to submit that detailed plan, and the authority, the planning service in Ayrshire would need to be happy with the plan for the management of the traffic. The specific issue now is obviously the suitability of the access for both construction traffic and those who would live in the development once built. So the actual detail would come forward, but that would be the process by which we manage the construction traffic, because obviously it needs to work, and it needs to work and minimise the impact during the construction period as well. So we don't have the detail of that, but it would be managed through the appropriate condition and then the process for discharge of the condition on submission of the detail. But maybe just ask Kevin to confirm the general Ayrshire position, because I appreciate there's a number of the local residents who have concern not just about construction traffic, but the extra additional traffic the development would generate, and maybe just clarify Ayrshir's position in terms of the proposal for all the traffic, noting that we'll deal with the construction traffic through appropriate conditioning.
Thank you, David. We are satisfied with the development in terms of the impact on our current network. The area that they're accessing out onto Truesdale Crescent is a 20-mile-an-hour zone, so obviously speeds are reduced, and there is an achievable 50-metre sightline as you come out of the development. In terms of the current traffic there, I'm satisfied that, the network will cope with any additional movement of vehicles on that area.
Just on the conditions that David's mentioned there, we could put the condition in that there's no deliveries there at school times, like 9 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because that's been a problem where our site is just now doing the rest of the renovations in Drungan, that big vehicles are coming in just at the school there basically again, so at bad times. So we've made it a condition that they don't actually come there at 9 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the busy times.
We can certainly, through you, Marion, we can certainly look at that. We'll consider that that's part of the process. I agree, and certainly the construction traffic during that temporary period through the SEM. So there is that process of negotiation. Obviously, the fundamental position is any conditions that we seek to impose at any time do need to meet the test. But if it's an issue that needs to be addressed and it's appropriate to address it through appropriate conditioning, then yes, we would do that.
That's fine, thank you. Thanks, Marion.
Councillor Stewart.
Aye, a bit like Councillor Filson there. I'm a bit worried about Truesdale Crescent and the Ladies' Walk. It really is a bit tight. And if we're looking at 75 new houses, and I'm not against new houses, we're thinking about maybe 200 new cars going in and out there. It is a busy area. It is right off Millershield Road. And I would be concerned for the road safety for the children and adults using that area. So on saying that, I think that's grounds for refusal on this one, and that would be for road safety. So I would be moving that we refuse this application. Thanks.
Right, thank you.
Questions or-
Any further questions and discussion, because we're not at the stage of moving to determination yet? Councillor Maben.
I'll second the objection for Councillor Stewart.
Aye, we're not at that stage yet. Councillor Lennox.
Aye, thanks, Chair. Just if I heard right, Chair, it was mentioned that the developer is talking about including affordable housing in the development. I think the developer's to be commended if that's the case, Chair. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Councillor Lennox, this is the first time I've ever come across a situation when a developer's included affordable housing when there's been no requirement to do so. So I believe they're in quite extended discussions with the Council's Housing Services on the matter. Thanks.
Councillor Hogg.
Hi there. Just to reiterate what my colleagues have already brought up regarding the road situation down in Drongan. The Millershiel Road is very often busy as it is at the moment, with the park and the school all in very close proximity. And then you go up that small hill into a very narrow turning into Truesdale Crescent. You're going to have all these extra cars, but we don't have extra road infrastructure, and it could become quite a road safety issue and also a bottleneck. So it's just to raise my concern regarding the influx of vehicles into the area, and obviously there could be issues with regarding road safety. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Maitland.
Could I just have some confirmation that there was 20-mile-per-hour limits put in with these roads, and if they'll be put in the surrounding area in Millershiel as well? Thank you.
Kevin.
Through you, Chair, there is a 20-mile-an-hour scheme there at this moment in time. And we can monitor vehicle movements later on if there was an issue raised.
Will there be any extra pedestrian crossings involved or traffic calming measures? Thanks.
No, we haven't asked for that.
Is that something we could condition? Thank you.
Marion.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Maitland. That's something that can be looked at under the roads construction consent. Yeah.
Councillor Mackay.
Thanks very much. It's just around this issue of road safety, Kevin. Could I just ask, clearly going from the planning history I see was for 52 buildings, going up to 75. Now that's not quite a 50% increase, but it's not far off a 50% increase. So it's just to ask again, the point at which the planning permission for 52 was consented, was there a 20-mile-an-hour zone at that point? Because again, what you've told us is that you've reduced the sight lines, I think I heard correctly, down from 75 metres to 50 metres at the same time as the number of houses is almost doubling. So could I just ask for a wee bit of history in terms of 20-mile-an-hour? How long has that been there in terms of Truesdale and Ladies Walk area? Thanks very much, Chair.
Marion.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Mackay, yes, there was a 20-mile-an-hour zone in place in Truesdale Crescent when the previous application for 52 units was consented. As I say, the 20-mile-an-hour zone can be achieved through the roads construction consent, but it also, there's quite a short area. It's maybe only about 30 metres or so between the site entry and where Truesdale Crescent then meets with Ladies Walk. So it's not sufficiently long enough to allow speeds to be built up, because they're coming to a stop at the junction or a give way at the junction either side, which is why ARA allowed the sight lines to be reduced, because the traffic speeds are generally low at that location.
Councillor Mackay, do you want to come back in?
Thank you very much, Chair. I do. It's really to just then ask, and Marion, thank you. That was a really extensive answer. But it's really then just to ask, given that it was 20 miles an hour in the past, and it was still considered at that time that there was a requirement for 75-metre sight lines, but that's then reduced down. I'm honestly struggling to understand the logic of that change in terms of that's, you know, that's halved, whilst my point is that we're still increasing the number of houses by almost 50%. So it's just, again, clarification on how that's possible and how therefore it's still viewed as something that's as safe in road safety terms. Perhaps I just don't understand. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Thanks, Chair. Yeah, Councillor Mackay, it was myself that wrote the previous application up for approval, and I can't remember quite the details of it, but I will say that 70 metres isn't actually physically achievable in that location. So there must have been a reduction previously on the sight lines distance in order to facilitate the 52 house consent as well, if that helps.
Councillor Maven.
Thank you, Chair. There seems to be a problem with this access in at Truesdale Crescent. It's the local councillors there are saying it's far too tight. I'm curious why we're not using the road that runs right along the south of the boundary. If that could be a better access in instead of using Truesdale Crescent. I think it's Craig's Road.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's Millishield Road and it goes into Craig's Road. The U740 is a 60 in that location. There's no footways or verges. Well, there's a verge, but it's a cundy, if you know what I mean. So it's quite a fast stretch before you get into the Barbaston Bend. It's not been proposed within the current application, so that would be a matter for a revised application if that was the case. But it's just to let members know as well that the 52 unit development is still capable of being implemented until I think it's January or February next year. So the developer could go ahead and build that less dense development out, but with the same access point and with the resultant amount of traffic as well.
Councillor Stewart.
Again, Marion, see the footpath the plan shows a footpath exiting onto Drung and onto Barbaston Road, but there's no footpaths there. Is there plans to be putting footpaths in there? Because that's going to pose a problem for people as well.
Thanks, Councillor Stewart. No, there's no plans to be adding a footway to the U740. It's just basically adding pedestrian links onto the U740, so people would still be walking on the road as they are at the moment. Because there's no, if there was an access there in a revised application, then we would be looking for a footway. But that's not the subject of the current application before you.
Is there any further questions? So we can move to the determination. I think we've already had a motion. That was from
Yep, sorry.
Councillor Stewart.
The motion on the table is by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Maben to refuse the application on road safety grounds.
Chair, if I could maybe come in and just offer the committee just some general advice at this point. I've no wish to be precious about it. Obviously, there's a recommendation in that report that's in my name, although I'm not a planner. Colleagues are planners. It's not about sticking to the recommendation, absolutely. We appreciate there is a statutory process here, but the recommendation does represent best officer advice on both the planning service and specifically the view of the road service through ARA in terms of the likely implications of this development. The specifics are that it's a 20-mile zone and are satisfied with the 50-metre sightlines. In terms of the construction traffic, the normal process will be applied in terms of they submit their traffic management plan for the construction period, and we will deal with the detail and deal with any issues arising from that. And that's the normal process. It's not about putting problems down the line. All I would say as members, we're in a position here where on the one hand, the statutory process is this application is absolutely for determination by you. That's how the system works. And it does involve members bringing their local knowledge to the table in the determination of these applications. However, where a decision has been put forward that's contrary to both the overall recommendation and the road service advice, I would just add, I urge members to be absolutely clear on their reasoning and their thinking for what they're putting forward. And I would simply highlight, we've had a recent instance where the committee purported to refuse an application against, again, similar to this, an officer recommendation to grant, again, where ARA had no roads concerns, and the decision was to refuse the application on the basis of the wider local member or member concerns about the road safety issues. And as they're entitled to do, that applicant appealed that decision, and the reporter upheld, did not uphold the refusal. The reporter overturned the refusal and proposed to grant. I only make reference to that because it does feel we're in a similar situation here, and all I can say is that the recommendation isn't one we arrive at lightly, and the ARA position isn't one that they arrive at lightly. And I would simply urge members not to ignore either of those lightly before you make any decision you're about to make, because the applicant, as Marion has said, may go ahead and build the 52. The applicant may appeal refusal if that's the outcome today, and that would be at a cost to the council in terms of the expenses of that process potentially. Or the applicant may come in with a variation, but as you've heard, the other road that was helpfully suggested is actually a poorer option because it's a higher speed and it's an unclassified road. So the bottom line is, members, I'm not telling you there is a fine line. It is absolutely for this committee to determine this application. But as I say, the recommendation and the position of ARA are there for a reason, and I would ask members to give them due weight before they take any decision this morning, given the recent experience, and I would urge us not to repeat that one. That's all. So thanks, Chair, and thanks, members.
Right, thanks, David. Again, we're moving to determination. We've got a couple of members that want to come in. So, Councillor Mackay.
I've withdrawn that. Thank you very much, Chair. Sorry, I was just a lag in getting that hand down. Thanks.
That's okay, thank you. Councillor Maitland.
Moving to decision, I would go with the recommendations with the added condition of school times for road traffic at school times at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Second that, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll move to determination now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Members, to just reiterate the motion and the amendment that we have today. The motion is proposed by Councillor Stewart and seconded by Councillor Mabin for refusal of the application on road safety grounds. The amendment is by Councillor Maitland, seconded by Councillor Cowan, to approve the application subject to the conditions as detailed in the report, as well as the additional condition regarding no deliveries around the school times. When I call your name, if you could confirm if you are for the motion or for the amendment, please. Councillor McGee.
Amendment.
Councillor Friel. Councillor Cowan.
Amendment.
Councillor Mackay.
I'm sorry, I'm a wee bit confused. Can you just confirm for me, please, what's the motion?
Yep, the motion, Councillor Mackay, by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Mabin, is for refusal, and the amendment by Councillor Maitland, seconded by Councillor Cowan, is for approval.
Okay, thank you. I am with the amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Mabin.
On the motion, please.
Councillor Maitland.
Amendment.
Councillor Lennox.
Amendment.
Councillor Watts.
Amendment.
Councillor Filson.
Amendment.
Councillor Hogg.
Amendment.
And Councillor Stewart.
For the motion.
Members, I can confirm that the amendment has been carried by 9 votes to 2. The application has been approved, subject to the conditions and for the reasons detailed in the report, including the additional condition regarding no deliveries around school times. Thank you.
Thank you, members. On to item 5, which is compliance monitoring update of major developments and environmental projects, and that's David Wilson. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. This is a quarterly compliance report providing an update on a range of large-scale environmental and major developments within East Ayrshire. This report covers the period from July to September 2023. Appendices 1 to 8, starting at page 96, provide the detail of each of the developments, and the report provides a summary of the main points for each development type at paragraphs 8 to 21. The key point for members to note is that no formal enforcement action has been undertaken or warranted at any of the sites. In respect of the different development types, there are no compliance-related concerns at the open cast restoration sites, single and dual turbines, the interconnector project, or landfill sites. There are 9 major development sites currently under construction. The compliance issues which have arisen are summarised in Appendix 2. These relate mainly to complaints and some relate to non-compliance with conditions relating to the site construction. In most of these cases, we are seeking to resolve these matters in liaison with the developers. However, these will continue to be monitored and more formal action will be taken if necessary. It's particularly noted that replacement planting has been undertaken at Irvine Road in Comores to address the unauthorised removal of existing hedging, and that discussions with the developer of the Draffin Mount site in Stewarton are taking place regarding the play area and landscaping, and that will continue in this current reporting quarter that we're now in. In respect to wind farms, the council area currently has 4 wind farms under construction at Snedden's Law, South Kyle, North Kyle and Enoch Hill. For members' awareness, it would appear that the summaries of each of these 4 sites has not been included in the finalised Appendix Table 3 in error, and please accept my apologies for that. An overview is, however, set out at paragraphs 13 to 15 on page 92 of the papers. I can advise members that there have been no significant non-compliance matters at any of those 4 sites, with the only matters of note being some silt-laden water runoff from tracks at North Kyle during a period of particularly heavy rainfall, but which was quickly rectified and did not enter any watercourses. For Enoch Hill, the only matter of non-compliance related to a blast at the site borrow pit, which did not fully follow the approved document for site blasting. This has been acknowledged and rectified by the developer, and ongoing discussions are taking place between the site contractor and the local resident who raised concerns regarding the blast, and measures have been identified to ensure that further issues around blasting don't occur. There have been no further issues since that initial impact from that blast that didn't follow the document process. For Snedden's Law, main construction works have been completed during the quarter, with some minor earthworks remaining to be completed, and it's also hoped that the final sign-off from SEPA in relation to the use of some additional excess peat will also be received in the next reporting quarter to allow that non-compliant matter to be regularised. The site has also entered the post-construction phase for water sampling, so it's good progress on that site, and it will generally be finished over the next handful of months. It's essentially post-construction tidying up and restoration that's taken place there now. The quarries within the area generally operate in compliance with their respective planning permissions. The main issue currently is at Garpo Quarry, where a habitat management plan review, which is required as part of the Section 75 legal agreement, is currently overdue. As reported in the previous quarter, the operator is liaising with Nature Score and RSPB regarding this, and the council officers are helping to facilitate those discussions and arranging for a meeting to be able to progress those matters and bring that back into full compliance. To conclude, therefore, on this report, the recommendation is that members note the content of the report and note that no formal enforcement action has been taken or is warranted. And I'd be happy to answer any specific questions. Thank you, members.
Councillor Folsom. Hi, David. Just on the way in this morning there, I noticed a lot of environmental trucks heading for Chamerson, Pennyveeney. I'm just wondering if they're bringing in sewage sludge there.
not that I'm aware of, councillor, but they are able to do that under permitted development rights if it is to do with forestry type works. So we would have no control, but I've not been made aware that there's any new movements. But there is a lot of construction sites, as you know, going on down there, so it could be one of a number of different developments.
Thanks, David. Just through yourself, Chair. I wonder if we could arrange a wee visit to North Kyle for the planning committee, just to see what's going on there, basically. Can that be possible?
Yeah, I'm quite sure they'd be more than happy to facilitate that. We've obviously visited a couple of wind farms in the past, so we can certainly liaise.
I'd appreciate that, David. Right, thanks. Councillor Leonard.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, David. Just maybe no pertinent at this point in time, but just a question for me in terms of the Afton Braes development and the Rig Road at Auchinleck. There's some concerns up that in that development about the pedestrian access out on the main road between Auchinleck and Cumnock. Could you just clarify to me whose responsibility that will be for establishing a footpath down Rig Road onto the main road, please?
We would expect it to be the developer if it's on the approved plans, and timings wise, a lot of that work is timed to before construction completes, so there's still a lot of things that developer needs to do. I'm not specifically up to date myself on that exact detail. I know Marian's here. I'm not going to put her on the spot saying if she has an answer, but if there's anything to be added, I'll let Marian come in.
Chair. Hi, Councillor Lennox. There is an existing footpath on the Auchinleck Road from Rig Road, from like plot 30. It comes out at Knockroon at the cafe on the opposite side of the road, and it's completed. It's just not adopted yet, but it's got lighting, it's got drainage in place, and it's well used. So is there another location you're thinking about? This is just basically if you're standing at the Knockroon cafe at Da Vinci's looking across, it's just before on the left hand side the last house in Hoyle Crescent.
Sorry, Marion, I think last time I passed there I didn't see any footpath either, so we're maybe talking about different roads. So I'll maybe have a conversation offline with you and we can talk about that, please. Thank you.
Any other questions? No, let's note the report. On to item 6. This is an update report in progress of planning applications which have been recommended for approval and are subject to the conclusion of appropriate legal agreement or legacy planning applications in East Ayrshire. And again, David, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. This report, also a quarterly report, this one in the progress with applications subject to legal agreement and those that are legacy planning applications. The report covers the period July to September as well. In terms of this reporting quarter, paragraphs 10 and 11 and Appendix Table 1 show that there are 7 applications awaiting conclusion of legal agreement, which is one more than the last quarter. One application was concluded during the quarter, although 2 new applications requiring a legal agreement have been added in the quarter. Although some are over 6 months, we consider that they're all progressing in an acceptable manner between ourselves and the applicant, and none of them are recommended for review at this time. In respect of legacy applications, paragraphs 12 and 13 and Appendix Table 2 show that there are 16 legacy applications, which is the same as the last reporting quarter. 3 legacy applications were cleared in that quarter with the same number added. Many of these applications are under processing agreements, which project manages the application to revise timescales, and most applications are progressing well, as set out in the appendix table. 2 applications are considered to have largely stalled during that reporting quarter, which is noted at paragraph 13. And that's due to delays by the applicant in providing supporting information and the other in respect of resolving consultee objections. Both of these will be progressed for decision in the October to December reporting quarter unless outstanding matters are resolved satisfactorily. They would both be under delegated powers, so our intention would be to move them forward if we don't see progress. Members are therefore asked to note the content of the report and the actions in each application set out in the tables, which is essentially to allow continued progress on each legacy and legal agreement application, but that the 2 legacy cases be moved to determination in the next reporting quarter if no progress is made. I'm happy to answer any questions, members. Thank you.
Any questions? No. We'll agree to note the report. Thank you. And thanks for your attendance today, both in the chambers and online. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.